Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us for this homecoming at home session. Cheers to the last year. We are just going to wait a minute or so as all of our attendees are trickling in from the waiting room and begin shortly. And just a quick reminder as we're waiting for attendees to join from the waiting room that this session is going to be recorded tonight and will be posted tomorrow on our YouTube channel. All right, another bit of housekeeping. I just want to bring all of our attendees' attention to the question and answer feature at the bottom of your screen. That is going to be how you can ask questions throughout the session tonight. We have not only a great lineup of panelists who will be doing a Q&A at the end of this session, but we also have some staff who will be supporting and answering those questions to you throughout the presentation by text. So please feel free to utilize the Q&A function throughout the session, which is located at the bottom of your screen. All right, again, welcome and thank you for joining us for this homecoming at home session. Cheers to the last year and more. My name is Dan Perez. I am the program coordinator for the Office of Parent and Family Programs. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to our second session of our Parent and Family Programs track of events for 2020's Homecoming at Home. And before we get started and I introduce you to all of our wonderful panelists, we would like to know who's joining with us tonight. So you can see that you have a raise your hand option that you can utilize. So I just have a few questions and I would like to know, for all of our families and parents and students who are joining us, who has a student that is graduating this upcoming spring 2021? Please raise your hand. All right, great. So you can go ahead and lower those hands. And so who all has a student that's not graduating this upcoming spring 2021? Feel free to raise your hand. Okay, feel free to lower your hands. We've got a pretty diverse group. So who all is joining us from outside of California? So that would be out of state or international. Great. All right, and then the last question I have is, who all is joining us at homecoming for the first time? So hasn't attended a homecoming or family weekend event prior to tonight? Okay, great. That's fantastic. You can go ahead and lower your hands. Well, thank you all for joining us. We're really excited to have you all here, and we're excited to have this great selection of panelists to present to you Cheers to the Last Year and More. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first panelist, Karina Velasco from Student Financial Solutions.
Okay, so my name is Karina Velasco. I'm a student employee at Student Financial Solutions, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about student accounts and monitoring your student account as a soon-to-be graduate. Next slide. Okay, so an important thing as a soon-to-be graduate is that you're going to want to monitor your account periodically throughout the whole year, and especially as we're coming up to graduation, like in June. You're going to want to make sure that you pay any open balances that you have. Any open balances that are like past due balances may incur, you can get like an MDET hold, which can affect financial aid. An MDET hold can also turn into a WDET hold, which can follow you even after you leave UCSD. So you're going to want to make sure that you take care of any balances and any late fees that you have. Next. And then you're also going to want to update your current mailing address. So your current mailing address is used to send you your diploma, to send transcripts, any correspondence like your billing statements will be sent to your current mailing address on file. So you're going to want to make sure that you have that address updated, as well as any other forms of contact. And then exit loan counseling. So if you take out any campus-based loans, you're going to want to make sure that you do complete the exit loan counseling. As soon as you receive the email notification, a hold can be placed on your account if you don't complete it, which can hold you from receiving your diploma or being able to request and receive transcripts. If you do have any questions about exit loan counseling, you can always email exits@ucsd.edu. And then lastly, any grad related fees. So a commencement fee will be, once you register for commencement, you will receive a fee, and that comes shortly after registration. So you're gonna wanna keep an eye out on that fee, along with if you charge your cap and gown to your student account, those fees will be placed shortly after, and they will be due by the following due date. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us through our services and support portal, or by calling our office. Our contact us page is available on our website, sfs@ucsd.edu.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Karina. We'll see you later on for the Q&A portion.
Thank
And
you.
I would like to pass it to Karen Wallace from the UC San Diego Bookstore.
Hi, I'm Karen Wallace. I'm the customer service manager for the bookstore. The bookstore works with the commencement committee to bring you items like cap and gowns, stoles, and then also have events. At this time, we're not really sure how commencement will be, handled in person or online. But I'm just going to give you some direction on where you can look once we get a little bit closer to the event. Next slide. So on our webpage, we always have a page available. It's called Grad Central, where you can click and see whatever the latest updates are. So once campus releases the information about commencement and what's happening, we'll update our page to go along with that. We are able to supply you with bachelor, master's, and doctoral gowns. And then you can also buy things a la carte, depending on how the ceremony is going, if it's in person or if it's going to be online. That will determine how the items are picked up or shipped directly to you. And then any events that we're having will also be posted at Grad Central. So generally, like, our deadline is 6 weeks before the event, if there's any ordering that needs to be done or anything that needs to be sent to you. So you can look online, probably closer to April, but the website for the university that they always use and update quite regularly is commencement.ucsd.edu. And then you can also look at the bookstore website under the Grad Central button. And that button is always there. So anytime we get any updates, we can update it within like 24 hours. So you can always check to see, what the latest information is, what campus is doing, what supplies we have available for you. And then if we're doing any events virtually or in person, we'll also have that posted for you. So it's just a great time to really support you guys as you're leaving and have you, get all the items that you need for graduation, or to have souvenirs that you might want to keep, with you for your, as you go on into your career. So that's just a great place to check out when you're looking at the website. So, stay tuned. We'll have more information as we get closer to commencement. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I now have the pleasure of introducing Chris Herger, the Executive Director of the Career Center.
Hey, great. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate being here with everybody. First off, go Tritons. It's been, as we all can appreciate, a stunning year in so many facets. And I will say this, all of us on the call, all the parents on the call, we're all here because somebody believed in us, right? Somebody took a chance on us, gave us that first opportunity to prove ourselves. And I say this to all the students on the call is we believe in you. We totally support you. We believe in you that your best days are ahead and we will all get through this together as a big Triton family and supporting in one another. So know that as I kind of walk through the content for the next couple minutes, we've got wind at our back, our best days are ahead, and there's great opportunities, to come. So a couple of quick things as you kind of transition into what's next professionally. So yes, I'm Chris Herger. I'm the Executive Director for the Career Center. I've been here at UC San Diego for about 2.5 years. I have a team of about 25 colleagues that work with us here to support all of our students. And we will obviously be here after graduation, kind of over the upcoming summer months and on what's next to kind of be around as kind of questions surface. But I want to spend a little bit of time talking about a couple resources you can take advantage right now, and also for the parents on the call to make sure you're aware of as well, so you can kind of remind or gently nudge the students to make sure they check these out. First one is our Career Center website is built basically for every year in school. And there's a screenshot image of that, basically going to the Career Center roadmap and basically first year, second year, third year, and specifically fourth year. Clicking on the fourth year tab will really bring you almost a checklist of things you should be thinking about as you approach graduation as well as beyond. The most notable one is the Triton Career Guide. I have a paper copy here, but it is downloadable and the links are on the screen. I really would recommend people take a look at pages 7, 9, 17, and 23. It is a workbook style guide, so it's something that you can obviously use and make some notes in and then go back to. It certainly is not here to replicate a Google search. That would be frivolous, but it's more of, again, a kind of like targeted, asking you some tough questions, thinking about what could be next, multiple parallel paths that could kind of go forward in that regard. So feel free to check that out. Like I said, we built it. We've had other schools kind of ask us about it. We think it's pretty compelling. So take a look at that. Let's go to the next slide, if you would, Dan. Another resource you should definitely make sure as you kind of transition into kind of what's next professionally is we do have a number of alumni that are in the professional coaching and help business. So as you're kind of navigating this search and you're like, I may have some more technical questions, or I may just kind of want to dial up to somebody that does this kind of on a more consistent basis. And this link is basically found on the Career Center website under our alumni tab, where you scroll all the way down and it talks about other resources. And we've listed probably about a dozen, maybe 2 dozen professional coaches. They're all alums, and they obviously have done this in many times over. So have lots of resources, have connections. And like I said, all their contact information is listed on this page. We work very much in tandem with our alumni partners to support alums. And I argue it's one of the best things that you will graduate with a degree in UC San Diego is we have over 200,000 alumni all over the world that have been in your shoes, that have walked library walk, that have basically navigated the challenges of what's next professionally and can be mentors, can share that knowledge, could be partnering with you as you think about kind of what could be next in a myriad of ways. So don't discount that. It's a huge advantage as you kind of navigate into the world, because really the way I kind of think about it with my team is we're in the life coaching business, right? We're trying to make sure you have a high trajectory into what's next, both the first role, the second, the third, the fourth, because nobody has one career. Maybe the parents on the call may have had one career, but you will have 10, 12, you will do 5, 7 different things over the course of the next 15 or 20 years. And it's really about that translation, right? What is those things you've learned here on campus? You can start with the 12 competencies. Everybody should be familiar with those. How do they translate? Like teamwork, leadership, digital fluency, international mindset, all of those skills are transferable, and you've had them obviously here in your academic curriculum, and they translate well in the outside world of kind of where you want to go and what you're capable of doing, as you think about kind of the next. So, definitely, again, it's a great resource. Also, our UC San Diego alumni page has more resources about events, how you can kind of make the world a smaller place when it comes to alumni, much like you did when you started here on campus with the campus of 40,000. You found a way to make it small, right? To make it impactful, to think about what could be an area you could have an impact on, have a legacy in. Those are the things that obviously the alumni page can help you do as well as you transition to what's next. Let's go to the next slide if we would, Dan. Another great resource that obviously so many of you have experienced because the data shows it, right? So we obviously at the Career Center look, and about 85, 90% of our students are on Handshake. in a myriad of ways. And thank goodness your access to Handshake does not evaporate or get turned off when you graduate. You do have a Handshake access account. I've included a couple kind of just screenshots to make sure that you're familiar with the fact that there are opportunities on Handshake. I direct your attention to the one in the lower right. This is a recent screenshot, and it looks like I said about 4,800 jobs, meaning full-time roles, have been posted by employers that have said they are open to having alumni, obviously apply to them. So it's a great resource that you obviously have advantage of. I highly encourage you to kind of keep your profile updated. You don't want to have an employer that's potentially doing some filtering on Handshake to guess whether you're a senior or whether you're an alum. So make sure you definitely go in as you kind of matriculate and update your profile. Maybe there's a new email address. You want to update a potentially new resume as you kind of now moved on with new skills and experiences. And also make sure you're doing some good filtering on Handshake. You know, the biggest advice I give when I talk to parents is, number one, your students define their major does not define them. And we see this over and over again. If you look at companies, and we can leverage LinkedIn as a great kind of resource for this. If you do the searching by, what is the majors that an organization hires, if you screen by the company on LinkedIn, and you can find the data to illustrate that they hire a broad array of majors, because the logic is that they serve a broad array of clients and customers. And so they do not need the exact kind of pairings of that. I'll show that in the next slide or two. The last thing I'll say is with regards to a resume, which I think is kind of the big kind of the calling card, obviously, of everybody as they transition to what's next. Number one, it's always a rough draft. You never obviously have a final resume because you're always learning something, right? You're always adding to it. So don't think about it as like a paper or an exam that you turn in and you're done. You'll always kind of think about it. I also, number two, think about your career is like healthcare. You really don't want to kind of wait to start exercising. You don't want to wait to go see a doctor if something comes up. So similarly in your professional journey of where you go, you always want to be thinking about what could I do maybe this month to kind of make myself more marketable? What are the things that I could think about to kind of add to my kind of professional skill set so I could think about kind of transitioning to another role in the future, right? You don't want to kind of wait till the moment is now, meaning you're at graduation, you haven't thought much about this, because then there's stress and there's urgency, and it doesn't typically end as the way we'd like. So we want to make sure we're always kind of, spending a little bit of time thinking about it. The third thing I'd say is that you want to think about your resume is your story. It is this narrative story in reverse, right, chronologically. And I highly encourage students, as well as certainly parents, to ask about, if you will get the question. 11 out of 10 recruiters ask the question, tell me about your background. Tell me about yourself. Why would you like to work for our company? And you have to have that story down. You can't kind of be fumbling over the experiences, which I mean, the transitions between class and summer, back to class, back to summer, and then kind of obviously graduating and what you want to do next. You really want to think about that story, write it down, put it to memory. The reason you do this now is because if you get an opportunity to interview at a company, you don't have time to kind of work on this. That's got to be kind of done because you want to get ready for that potential interview. So and that's the time, like I said, spending in research is really, really big and important in that regard. Dan, let's go to the next slide, if you would, please. Another great resource, and this is kind of the home stretch, the second to last slide. Tritons Connect is a newer platform. We've launched it with our partners with alumni about a year ago. There's close to about 7,000 active Tritons on the Tritons Connect platform, as illustrated in the slide. The link is very straightforward, tritonsconnect.com. The ability here, though, is right. It's all alumni of UC San Diego that have said either one, they've raised their hand and said, hey, I'm willing to help. I'm willing to coach. I'm willing to talk to a student, now obviously an alumni, about where I am, how I got here, the paths I didn't take, all of those type of things. So it's a great kind of mentoring coaching platform. Secondarily, alumni do have the opportunity to post roles at their organizations. So again, it's another kind of outlet and resource with regards to kind of what could be next kind of full time. The third thing is obviously there's some sub communities on the Tritons Connect platform. So students of Muir College, there's a group for that. There's a myriad of other kind of groups as well. And so like I say, worth checking out. Again, you can ability to build a profile on it as well. And kind of spend a little time kind of making sure and kind of exploring that a bit is a good use of time. Okay, let's go to the last slide if we would. Super. So let's basically, this is a very straightforward kind of LinkedIn, and why LinkedIn is really important is illustrated by the slide, or the screenshot, excuse me, on the left with 195,000 alumni on the platform. Dan, if you would just advance the slide so my gold arrows pop in for me. Yeah, that'd be super. Just keep going and I'll kind of talk through it as you're bringing those up. The beauty of LinkedIn is really three mission critical pieces. Number one, as you look right under the 195,000 alumni, you basically can screen, do a control F of any word of 195,000 alumni profile. So for example, if you're thinking of a certain company, you can drop that in there. If you're thinking you wanted to explore a certain skill, you can put that in there. It's massively valuable to kind of help you think about your resume and what are the things you want to say, as well as just start learning about different paths that alumni have taken. For the sake of simplicity, I'll kind of just explain what this would look like. Basically, there's 6 columns on the LinkedIn page. It's on the left. Basically, it's where they live. The next one is where they work. And then if you scroll basically to when you're on the platform, you hit the next button, and it's what they do, what they've studied. And then the last one is their skills. So the magical piece of this is to take a look and actually go to the area that is what they majored in, because you can find alumni that have the exact same major that you do. And you can also then screen a little bit. As you see on the top, there's some ability to kind of narrow the years. And you can actually find alumni that are, say, 5 years out of school with your exact major, working in a potential geography that you want to focus in on, and what they're doing with that to help you kind of build the company list and the narrative. Because, right, you want to make sure you're thinking about, there's maybe probably 3 or 4 companies you could think of right now that you'd like to work for. But regrettably, the world's not fair, and those 3 or 4 companies may not be hiring. So it's really good to think about what could a list of like 12, 15, 20 companies in a certain geography that obviously have interest and potentially opportunities in what you want to explore. So think about that. On your profile, and now kind of as I'm bringing this to a close, you want to make sure you have a couple things that are strategically important in your profile. Number one, you don't want to have your profile with an unknown of when you're graduating. So you see in Sandra's profile, she lists her class year. Super, super important. Secondarily, you really want to think about that section, which is right underneath Sandra's name, right underneath the word connect, is a chance for you to actually do something that's pretty rare in professional, is to talk about what you want to do next. Because as you know, on your LinkedIn, as well as your resume, everything is kind of in reverse. It's all behind, but the reality is people don't hire for the behind. That obviously is the ability to kind of do the things that hire for what you can do, what you can bring to the organization. And so this is an opportunity to actually write down what you would want to do, what you could bring to the organization. Because the reality is, we know the job is here and you're over here, and there's a gap between the two, right? And you really want to think about how can you narrow that gap with showing experiences and skills that are related to the job you want. And therefore, that's a great opportunity through LinkedIn to do it. Last thing, your resume is an option. You can always post it on LinkedIn. And it's not a right or wrong, it just depends on your preference. Some people prefer to keep the resume when they're asked for it. Others are going to want to have it out there. But it's another place. You also on LinkedIn can post class projects, things that you want to kind of showcase your work, your experience, PowerPoint slides, things like that. You can really build a professional narrative with a live kind of basically rich material with regards to like videos and PowerPoint slides and things like that, to really build a historic case of why you'd be a potential candidate. Because the last thing I'll say, you will be Googled, right? Any company that will look at you will Google your name. They will look at your LinkedIn profile. They'll look at your social media feeds if they're public. So double check the settings on those. And because they're trying to make an argument back to my gap analogy, and secondarily, they're trying to build a data point set, right? They have your resume, that's one data point. They can look at your LinkedIn, that's another data point, right? They're continuing to make the process to funnel down the applicants they want to learn more about to kind of get to that first round kind of conversation and interview. So again, like I said, I'm really delighted to be here. Thank you again, Dan, for organizing. Hope this was helpful, and feel free, like I said, to drop any questions in the chat, and we can try to get to those later. Thanks, Dan. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Chris. And not only thank you for your presentation, but also your kind words at the beginning. I now have the pleasure of introducing Tyler Pengraff from Alumni.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Tyler. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Engagement and Philanthropy on campus, and I essentially help drive some of those senior initiatives. Excuse me for the sirens in the background. As you can see here, you can find us on social media and online at alumni.ucsc.edu. Next slide. So soon this is going to be you. Hopefully we'll be able to, have that celebration in person. We don't know at this point, but the moment is still pretty special, and it's around the corner. So I'd like to talk to you today about a few of the things that the alumni office has that will help prepare you for your graduation. Next slide, please. So this is your senior year bucket list. Regardless of whether or not you're graduating in spring or earlier, or even a little bit later, these are all things that you can do pretty much, in the quarter that you are graduating, except obviously for attend commencement. So our Meet the Boss event is an event that we put on with the Student Foundation. And it's essentially an opportunity for you to engage with professionals, industry professionals who have advanced in their careers to the point where they are able to come back to campus and offer advice to current students about career paths, similar to the mentorship program that Chris had referenced. But it's a very good community event. We host those every single quarter, and you should receive some communications about them. If you don't, or if you feel like you're receiving communication overload, you can always find the date and time on the virtual student union and register. Participate and take a Triton to work. Yearly, we have our Take a Triton to Work program through the alumni office, in which you have the opportunity to shadow a Triton at a company of your choice for a certain period of time that is agreed upon between you and the person that you would be shadowing. And it's a great opportunity to ask them questions about the company that they work at or similar companies if you're interested in a career path that they've taken. The next item is attend alumni orientation. So alumni orientation is a program that we will be offering quarterly. Previously, we had offered it in the spring quarter, but we also recognize that a lot of our Tritons aren't on the same four-year track that everybody else is on. And so our goal this year is to be able to offer those orientations quarterly. You'll get further information, like the amazing information that Chris provided in his presentation before me. You'll get some previews about what you can look forward to as a Triton alum. And then also our signature events that are upcoming, as well as presentations from a few of our other alumni staff about programs that they run that may continue to be beneficial to you after you graduate. And make a senior class gift that is meaningful to you. You can give to any area of campus that your heart desires. That's all part of our senior class giving. It's not just a single effort anymore, but it's really an intention of the spirit of our Triton giving that you can donate to any area that's meaningful to you. As a staff member, I donate to the theater department because I graduated in 2012 through the theater department. And file your DDA and attend commencement. And I want to talk to you just briefly about that. Your DDA is not the same thing as registering for commencement. So make sure that when you file for your DDA, if you intend to walk in commencement, that's a separate registration process. Dependent on when you're graduating, you might choose to walk in the commencement for the previous year or for the next year. It's kind of up to you. But just make sure that you file your DDA for the course you're planning to graduate, and not the same as commencement. And I say this repeatedly because I've had so many students freak out because they forgot to do one, or they did one instead of the other and not both. Next slide. So 40% of our 200,000 graduates that Chris had mentioned are graduates of the last decade. And what that means is they graduated within the last 10 years. So our university is expanding at a rapid rate when you think about how old we are versus how many graduates have come just from the last 10 years. And so you're in really good company when you graduate. You're graduating with a cohort that has a lot of similar experiences as you. A lot of insight that can be provided about, things that they wish they had known, what they could have done. Also through our alumni orientation program, we will occasionally offer webinars from our graduates of the last decade to talk about little nuggets of advice that they wish they had known immediately or prior to graduating. And as you can see, we're in 60 distinct regions across the world. So Tritons are everywhere. Next slide, please. And these are just some of our amazing Triton graduates that we're so proud of. Alicia Garza has been in the news a lot lately. Milano Weintraub, you know her as the AT&T girl. Kate Rubens, famous astronaut. Albert Yuman Lin, I like to call him the modern day Indiana Jones. And Ted Fu as well. So you're in good company, and we're only going to get more and more recognized for our achievements. Next slide. And now I'm actually going to hand it over to my coworker, Kiana Alzate, to speak to you about things to expect in your first year out of school.
Thank you, Tyler. Hi, everyone. My name is Kiana Alzate, and I'm the Assistant Director of Development for actually the Graduates of Last Decade Gold, which Tyler talked about in her part of the presentation. So anyone that's from 0 to 10 years out, let's all work together and collaborate and stay connected. So this is part of your first year bucket list. Just as so Chris and both Tyler were talking about staying connected with your alumni email for life, you get that. So keep your contact information updated. And if you ever need to do that, you can reach out to us on our website at ucsd.alumni.edu and new grads. So you can always check that out. Follow us on Instagram. There's lots of different regional clubs and networks like Tyler talked about that have their own Instagram and their own groups. So it's definitely a great way to get connected to people that are not only in your region, but since we're all virtual, there's a lot of opportunities to connect with different Triton alumni everywhere. And just so you know, you have free events for your first year. There's plenty of them. Upcoming right now this week is Homecoming at Home. So take a look at what's available for that. There's great ways to get connected to alumni and other students as well. Parents and everyone, you're invited. Check it out. It's going to be great. So hopefully you can get connected to each other there. And there's so many other benefits that you can definitely reach out to and see on the UC San Diego alumni website. And keep in contact as well with LinkedIn and Tritons Connect. Those are great ways, like Chris was talking about, to find alumni that are nearby and the companies that you're interested. And since we're all virtual, I think the opportunities are limitless, really, with the ways that you can stay connected to your fellow Tritons. So keep that up. And I'm going to go to the next slide after this one. Perfect. And then here's, I mean, this is a huge map. There's Tritons everywhere, just like Tyler said. So there's people everywhere for you to connect with. And with all the events that are happening virtually, I encourage you to check them out early as a student and right as you get out, because you never really know where someone might be that's connected to you. And I mean, listen, if we're just going to schedule something with a different time frame and time schedule, that should be fine. But I feel like there's so many different ways for you to connect with the different regions and clubs. So keep that in mind, just keep an open mind with that, and you'll stay connected as good as you can. Moving to the next slide. Perfect. So these are some of the regional clubs and networks. I've attended some of these Triton Welcome events. They are fantastic, really great ways to get in contact with the regional club leaders in each region. We have plenty of global service projects that you can participate in as an alum as well. And actually, the Globe and Triton 5K that you see the photo for is on Sunday. So if you want to see that or register for it, it's definitely available to you to get involved with. And there are so many different ways to learn more about professional development, whether that's through kind of one-on-one mentoring, through Handshake, through UC San Diego alumni. And Chris mentioned the Career Center guide that has those steps to even not only mentor, but maybe just reach out to someone that's at a company or within an industry that you're interested in looking into or applying to an internship. I direct a lot of students to that as a way for them to just set up an informational interview. This is definitely the time for you to learn and get more connected to your Triton alumni family. They're here for you and they're everywhere. So definitely get involved that way and sign up as soon as you can. I think that's the last slide, right?
Yeah, great.
There you go.
Thank you, Kiana and Tyler, and thank you to all of our panelists. And we're going to move into the question and answer portion of our session. So again, I just want to remind all of our attendees that you can actually post questions utilizing the Q&A function that's at the bottom of your screen. And we'll be answering those questions as they come in. So with that said, I'm actually going to stop the share so you will be able to see all of the panelists and their wonderful faces. So the first question I have, I'm going to throw to you, Tyler, is what is a DDA?
Yeah, so the DDA is basically filing for your degree. So all of your colleges, if you go to their website about graduation requirements, you'll see instructions how to file for that. And it's essentially just filing to get your diploma.
Great, thank you. Chris, I think this question is coming your way. The question is, are there anything that parents should know about helping their student prepare for virtual career fairs that may be different from in-person career fairs?
Yeah, sure. Kind of really three things of note. So yeah, we're seeing from the employer side for the virtual fairs, there's obviously a lot going on. They're definitely doing a lot. So my point is, so the employers are sometimes coming in a little bit later to open up their interview slots. So if you log in and the fair is like a week away and you don't see much, don't get discouraged. We're seeing some trends of employers kind of opening up slots kind of 2 or 3 days before. So that's kind of one thing. Secondarily, I would practice. This is a different environment than a conversation across, if you were having it in person. What I mean by that is, get your smartphone, drop the video, write some questions on a piece of paper, ask them to yourself. There's also online platforms of this, but just practice kind of how you're going to articulate your answers. So if you have like this very flamboyant kind of like hand gestures, and next thing you know, you're talking, and this is kind of a lot going on for the recruiter to really kind of get what you're trying to say if you're having too much. So it's good practice to hear yourself, to watch yourself, to kind of how you kind of particularly identify and answer the question. Last thing I'd say is make sure you're brushed up on things on your resume. You don't want to have an awkward moment where somebody asks you something specific about a resume kind of topic or a skill, and you're not sure kind of that it was there, or you forgot that you haven't looked at it in a while. So those would be the top three. Good question.
Awesome. Great information, Chris. The next question is, with the taking Triton to work and with our current situation of being virtual, will students be able to shadow a professional virtually?
Yeah, that's a great question. So obviously we don't have the full capability of, going to somewhere like Google and, being able to experience what their campus is like. So more likely it will be more like Zoom face-to-face meetings, but definitely be on the lookout for more information about that. That should be coming out hopefully about, I think, winter or spring quarter.
Great. Thanks, Tyler. I got another question here, and this is, are internships limited as a result of COVID-19? And do students today have somewhat the same internship opportunity as students pre-COVID-19?
Yeah, sure. So we look at that data pretty seriously for obvious reasons. And we actually have seen, well, certainly when COVID got underway, we'll call it earlier and before the summer started, a lot of internships were looked at strategically. Is this, can we pull it off, right? Because there's a lot of work to run an internship program. And a lot of them were flipped virtually or potentially just, said, hey, we're just not gonna be able to make this happen. Now those numbers have actually picked back up, and we're actually seeing a decent kind of trend on the internship side for two range of reasons. Number one, employers have gotten more comfortable with just virtual working, right? I mean, they're very kind of now, this is very, very, practice, and we're seeing lots of companies extend that well into 2021. And so the businesses, the finance, marketing, ops strategy, they've gotten comfortable with how we kind of deploy an intern on a remote basis. Number two is also the students have now, and companies that maybe potentially couldn't do a internship in person, now have a lower barrier to entry, right? Because it's now virtual. So we're seeing, like I said, those two trends collide and seeing actually a bit of an uptick in recruiting and internships. Now, I say this, it's cyclical, right? I mean, it is kind of the start of the fall. We've got about a month left until we get into Thanksgiving and then the holiday breaks. So things will be busy for the next month, and then it may sort of tail off a little bit. But I'd also argue that kind of we're looking spring, first quarter of the year. Things are going to be kind of pick up. They're going to see how the market kind of goes from a business perspective. And I would actually also see probably a spike kind of as we move into kind of the first quarter of like looking at how the summer's going to play out.
Great, Chris. Thank you. And we actually have Mark Adams from Student Financial Solutions. And Mark, we just had a question about clarifying what kind of holds will affect the student records when it comes to the student receiving their transcript.
Sure. Pardon me. I can answer that. Not a problem. Karina did a great job when she was speaking, but she did misspoke on the hold piece. starting back in 2020, so it's a new law that came into effect this year. We won't hold transcripts for any reasons anymore. So you will always be able to get your transcripts. The only thing that the hold will do currently is it can put a hold on your receiving your diploma. It all depends on when that hold goes on. It's really a hold there to help us understand that we need to reach out to you and let you know that you do need to do your entrance counseling or your exit counseling still. When it comes to the exit counseling, once you file for your degree, you're free to do your exit counseling at any point at that point. It doesn't hurt you to do it early before you actually walked and graduated. You want to do it before July or so to avoid that hold. It doesn't take very long to do. So there's a website that's available for you to go to. It's really pretty painless. So you want to make sure you do that though. It's a federal law, unfortunately.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark. We've got another question. So with COVID-19, if commencement for 2021 does not actually occur in person, will UC San Diego consider any other options outside of virtual commencement as a form of celebration? If anybody knows that, I know that still may be in the process of planning. But I will say, Tyler or Kiana, is alumni planning or thinking of anything to do virtually that may celebrate the upcoming new alum?
Yeah, so as far as our celebrations go, our senior week is typically in our spring quarter, is something that we had to switch to virtually last year. Typically, a lot of the celebrations that we do happen in person. But as much as we possibly can, we try to create programming specific to our graduating seniors. So whether or not you graduated in fall or winter quarter, you're still welcome to attend those events in the spring and, participate in things that are informative, that are celebratory of you. And I know too that with commencement last year, our graduates got some gifts in the mail as well, whether or not that was from the university or their colleges. And so we definitely want to make an effort to create programming that is, equitable to what you might have experienced in person, even if, the kind of energy and joy of being face-to-face isn't there.
Great, thank you. Karen, I think this question is coming your way. If students are not back on campus in the spring, will the bookstore be sending out information or resources to get graduation photos taken?
So, yeah, it's going to depend. I know last year with the photographer, they were available and ready to come to campus. It was just the campus was closed, so we didn't have any we didn't have the ability to do photos that way. So it's just going to depend on, how open campus is. The photographer is ready to go and they're ready to come to campus and set up at any time. So, as long as campus is open and, we get kind of numbers of how many people can be here, we can certainly schedule the photographer to come in, and we can include that with we usually do one mailing at the start of the season. So, depending on how close we get to the decision being made about graduation, we will certainly schedule, the photographer to come back and be on campus for anyone who's in town or in San Diego to come in.
Great, thank you. Mark or Karina, if you'd like to take this one, the question is, how far in advance should my student begin the exit loan counseling process?
To reiterate that, as soon as you file for your degree, you're welcome to take the counseling. It doesn't take very long to do. There's no reason to do it too early. You just don't want to wait any longer than about the month after you've graduated to avoid any repercussions from it. But you can start as early as you filed.
Awesome. Chris, I think this question is coming your way, but is there going to be a round of career fairs in the winter quarter and the spring?
Yes. Correct. There will be. We're basically getting those kind of lined up right now. And so we'll call it early November. Check your email inbox, and on Handshake, we'll have those live.
Perfect. And I'm just going to come right back to you, Chris. A parent has asked, is it a good plan for my student to apply for graduate school if there's no job offers occurred around the time of graduation?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So yeah, you really want to think about multiple paths forward. So I would argue that, Ray, especially in kind of as needs are being clarified of like what is compelling, whether that's a graduate school kind of path forward, that could be a gap year path forward. It could be obviously certainly a full-time employment path forward. Maybe a service year like Teach for America. So I think there's a lot of options forward. And let's think about this too, right? We've got, a lot of years, arguably, hopefully, all things being equal ahead of us. And sometimes the path that we think maybe the most logical or the one that we thought may have, maybe a little bit more of a diagonal, right? You thought you were going here and kind of a straight line, but maybe it's over here and then kind of up to it. So I think it's a good strategy to explore certainly graduate school opportunities as a chance to kind of, like I said, expand your skill set, kind of build on obviously your work here at UC San Diego.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. All right, I think that's going to do it for our Q&A portion. Thank you so much for all the questions entered in the chat, and thank you to the panelists for giving us some great answers and some great information. I just want to let everyone know all of our recordings, including this session, will be posted on our YouTube channel. This session will be posted tomorrow. And for those of you who would like closed captioning, YouTube does an automatic closed captioning, and it also has an automatic translation service available. So if you or your student would like to watch this session, if you want to share it with some family members or some students or your student and view the session with closed captioning in your preferred language or their preferred language, you have that option. And you do that by selecting the settings, clicking closed caption subtitles, and then selecting the auto translate option and then choosing that preferred language. It's just one way that these sessions are more accessible through our YouTube channel. And our Homecoming at Home programming is not stopping with this session. Cheers to the last year and more. We've got a few sessions throughout the rest of the week, including tomorrow. We are actually putting on 3 different sessions. They're all confidential roundtables with our Triton parents and their students, and it is going to be presented in 3 different languages. So we've actually set up 3 different roundtables with different groups of parents to be presented in English, Mandarin, and Spanish. The English and Spanish sessions will be taking place at 4 p.m. PDT tomorrow, and the Mandarin session will be taking place at 6 p.m. And then we have our Family of the Year Award celebration this Saturday at 10 a.m. We will be announcing our 3 finalists for the Family of the Year Award and recognizing all of our nominees that submitted nominations of their great Triton families this year for Homecoming. And then we are ending our series of programming with a fireside chat with your students' colleges. So that's going to be 7 programs from all the colleges happening at the same time. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you would like to explore all the other homecoming events being put on from our partners, such as alumni or athletics, you can visit the Homecoming Hub at homecoming.ucsd.edu to make sure you don't miss events like the esports tournament that's currently going, the Break a Record on Friday, or the virtual Triton tailgate that is this Saturday with a live virtual performance from Switchfoot. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Parent and Family Programs is putting out more programming just beyond what you will be able to experience at Homecoming at Home. We have future webinars planned for the rest of the academic year, and we specifically have a series of sessions coming up for graduating students. So a sample of webinars for families of graduating seniors include Graduation is a Family Affair, 10 questions your student should ask their academic advisor, supporting your student's journey after UC San Diego, what to do when you don't know what to do. And then for our upcoming to-be graduating seniors, we have Cheers, It's Your Student's Last Year, a session for parents of junior students. So kind of that need to know before the actual final year does start. And so please make sure that you visit our website, parents.ucsd.edu, to stay up to date on all of our ongoing events, resources, and sessions that we will have coming throughout the 2021 academic year. And a big thank you all for attending this session. For those who have students that are graduating this academic year, congratulations. We hope the year is just as amazing as the previous three or previous one if you were a parent and family of a transfer student. And thank you all for attending this session for Homecoming at Home. And if you would like to stay connected with our office, please visit our website, parents.ucsd.edu. If you have any questions that we didn't get to during this session or something that comes up after you may kind of digest this information you receive, feel free to email us at parents@ucsd.edu. And please follow us on social media. Specifically, I want to really shout out our YouTube channel where we'll be posting all the recordings of all of our sessions from Homecoming at Home. So again, thank you all. Thank you all to the wonderful panelists that joined us tonight. And that is all we have. So thank you. Stay well and stay safe and have a great evening.